Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I'm going to do this video outside of the normal rotation. It's really early in the morning, but this is kind of a big piece of news, and it does pertain to YouTube fitness. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Alright, the woman who attacked YouTube HQ, her name was Nassim Sabs, I think that's how you pronounce it. I can't pronounce it right. And I apologize to anyone who doesn't like my pronunciation. I can't speak that language. So, that being said, I was very concerned yesterday. I mean, obviously I'm concerned anyways. We don't want to see a mass shooting at all ever happen. That's not what any of us want. But I was very concerned that it was a disgruntled firearm person because of their new policy on firearms. Like, oh no, one of our people, they did it. Oh my God. Was the first thing that went through my head. This is not good. And I watched the live footage for an hour yesterday just of talking to witnesses, talking to police, everything like that, as it was unfolding last night. So I've been trying to stay up to speed with all this. Obviously, I went to bed. I got up early this morning and checked more news, found out what was going on, that she had been identified, and she apparently had killed herself after wounding 3 people. So at least, fortunately, none of the bystanders or people there were killed. She's the only one who died, and so that's a good thing. But the interesting thing is that this is a really unusual case because she had been identified as a female. Even yesterday, witnesses said it was a woman. They said it was a woman, which is kind of a first. We don't have a precedent for this. I mean, anyone who usually attempts a mass shooting like this tends to be male. To my knowledge, I don't think there has been a female who has done this yet. So this was already really weird. Already really weird. But now that we've learned more about her, we've learned some of her beliefs and political beliefs and things. Now, before people jump to conclusions, we do not know her religion. Nobody knows her religion. We know that she's an Iranian immigrant, and so is her father. Her father had been interviewed, but this doesn't appear to be religiously motivated at all. It seems to be someone who's just a crazy vegan, because that's what it turns out. Now, she self-identified as a bodybuilder, so, I mean, this is YouTube fitness. She did have a YouTube fitness channel, but she had grievances against YouTube over it, and I'll jump into those in a minute. But she identified as a vegan and animal rights activist and a bodybuilder. So, I'm going to say she's not a bodybuilder. I don't care what you self-identify as. You guys know my take on that. Just like someone who squats heavy isn't a power lifter, bodybuilder. She doesn't appear to be a competitor. Not interested in that part. But she was a fitness YouTuber with recipes, animal rights activist. She did give a little bit of workout advice on how to do sit-ups. But she was apparently upset because one of her videos had gotten age restricted. And then she felt that YouTube was discriminating against her as a vegan and animal rights activist. Now, you guys already know what we're about to say here. That is clearly not the case. Yeah, there have been cases of YouTube discriminating against certain viewpoints. Veganism has never been one of them, right? They have no negative policy against vegans. They don't regulate that. In fact, there are vegan channels with over 1 million subscribers who also classify themselves as animal rights activists, who have hundreds of millions of views. I mean, Vegan Gains, there's a perfect example right there. Vegan, animal rights activists. I think he's passed 500,000 subscribers now. Something like that, am I right? Could be. So, clearly not the case. Well, this woman got unmonetized last month, because she claims that YouTube had directed traffic away from her, that she did have one video had gotten viral, and that they basically put parental or age restriction on her crunch video of her doing crunches because they felt certain aspects of it were inappropriate. Of course, we haven't seen the original video. She claims it wasn't. She was really upset about that, and she says they did that just because the video had gotten too popular and had gone somewhat viral. And apparently her channel had 5,000 subscribers and about over 1 million views is what's been described. It has since been deleted But here's the thing, guys. YouTube put a policy in place last month, I think it was when it went through, that smaller channels that weren't getting much traffic lost their monetization, right? Small channels lost their monetization. One of the requirements they had for channels that have been underperforming, that have been flagged for this, is that they had 30 days to get 4,000 views in 30 days, right? And anyone who really wants to get 4,000 views could probably pull that off. Meaning, if you really, really wanted to get 4,000 views in a month, you could hustle, make 3 videos a day, and you would get that even with a really, really small channel. You would, just because they would get in search engines. As long as they had good enough titles or something to catch people's attention, you could get 4,000 views. Pretty much anybody could. Even a really tiny channel. But anyone who didn't, they lost their monetization. Well, apparently that's what her grievance with them was over, is that she wasn't going to make any money on her videos anymore. She had told her father that she hated YouTube. She hated YouTube and hated everyone who worked there, and so that appears to be her motive. Now, that being said, this kind of goes back to a point I make, and the vegans think I'm picking on them, but this is exactly what we're talking about. There have been certain studies that have shown that mental illness is disproportionately high among vegans. And that's a point I've made in the past. I've noticed a certain trend, because I did go try veganism for a while, and I did meet a bunch of vegans. And I can tell you, like people say, well, I mean, Vegan Gains admits to being a sociopath, right? He's admitted that. That sort of thing is really common in veganism. And veganism is oftentimes used, in my observation, to mask sociopathology. And I'm not saying everyone who's a sociopath is a bad person, because that's not the case. If you study it a little further, that's not always the case. It is combined with either, it's often that lack of empathy for other humans, or the ability to turn that switch off. And cut off your empathy towards humans. And it is in mass as well. I just love animals so much. And I noticed that I've definitely met vegans who really didn't care at all if human beings died. They didn't care at all, but they cared about the animals. And it made that clear that they cared about animals more than people. And you see other disorders that veganism is used to mask, like eating disorders. They tend to go hand in hand. So there's a lot of that goes on there. And it's just that crazy fanaticism. Now, could there be dietary deficiency contributing? Maybe. I've suggested it's possible. But I don't think every vegan is automatically deficient. I think there are vegans who do successfully meet all their dietary needs, but there are dietary deficiencies that are common, and we do see that rage. And if you guys remember, I posted about this, and we still have the video footage. I might eventually put it up somewhere online. We had that woman who went crazy during Hurricane Harvey and was screaming that she was a vegan, and she was upset because her child went in to get food. We found one restaurant open within a couple miles of us. One restaurant open in the middle of the hurricane during a lull in the storm, and it was a Chinese restaurant, and she went in and had ordered vegan foods, and her kid went in to get it, and she came back in because one of the dishes had meat in it, and she threw the food all over the floor, attacked somebody, and was screaming that she was a vegan and she didn't eat meat. You know, and we're here in the middle of a natural disaster. And again, that's an example of what we're talking about. Vegans tend to be a little bit crazy. Not all of them, but is a definite trend, or it's people who tend to be drawn to that, tend to have their own set of issues. But you have that vegan rage and righteous indignation, and that was a perfect example there. I'm almost wondering if this wasn't an example also. You know, a lot of these animal rights activists, they tend to become a little crazy. And I noticed it definitely. And I noticed one of the ones that I had met amid all this, that they actually didn't like me, at least one of them, because I wasn't extreme like he was. That I just said, look, I'm just making this choice to do this for personal reasons. I'm not interested in doing activism. I'm just choosing not to eat meat. Back when I gave this a try. And that, like to that guy, that wasn't good enough. That because I wasn't actively going out and breaking farm animals out and setting them free, or raiding laboratories illegally like he was doing, that anyone who wasn't doing that is a bad person. That not eating meat isn't just that's all you do, that's not good enough. That you're just as bad as the meat eaters. So you see this sort of crazy righteous indignation and cult-like behavior. Well, here you have it. You have a vegan who, for no real reason, she wasn't discriminated against for being a vegan. YouTube doesn't do that. Went crazy and went on a killing spree. Again, that vegan rage. And it's something to think about because it's an observation. And people say, I can't believe you would say that. I see it in my own video comments. All right. And yes, I'm not saying all vegans are that way. I have met some who are not like that. I know some who are pretty nice and they're just legitimately care about animals. And they don't have that crazy level of righteous indignation. But we sure see a lot in my video comments. We see a lot in my video comments. And I mean, at this point, this is a perfect example of, again, one of these militant vegans who also had previously, one thing we know she had done, she had gone outside of a military training base for the Marines and was protesting because the Marines were using pigs during kind of their triage thing. And a lot of corpsmen do that. People may or may not know that they use pigs and goats sometimes to learn how to treat people out in the battlefield in an emergency situation. And yeah, they do get blown up in things. And they get worked on. They get worked on by these people who are learning to be medics out in the field. So she was going to protest that. So we know she's attended at least one protest that way. But again, you got an example of someone who's YouTube's normal policies due to people's normal traffic. Really small channel loses their monetization, turns out to be vegan and feels that a left-leaning organization, I mean, YouTube and Google are left-leaning organizations. And they seem to be more than happy to allow animal rights activists, veganism, all of that seems to be very welcome on the platform, who decides just randomly that she was discriminated against and goes crazy. But that's the thing, an animal rights activist screams about, I care about the animals, but has no problem shooting 3 innocent people. You got to see the problem here. And just watch the comments. There are going to be vegans who are going to come into the comments, and you're going to see some of this. You're going to see what I'm talking about. What do we do about this? I don't know. But it does concern me that we see so much of this crazy vegan fanaticism infiltrating the online fitness community. And this is a perfect example of one going crazy. Perfect example of one going crazy. But, again, they bombard and attack channels, other channels on YouTube. All these vegans do. I see it every day. If I make a pro-milk video, watch the vegans come in. Watch them come in and you see how they behave. Well, this is an example of one of them acting out in real life how they behave on the internet. Just sheer insanity. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.